Episode 26 of Deadwood. I'm not the fine man you take me for. A second episode of Season 3. Would you like to briefly summarise what happened in this episode?
Of course.
A very dense episode. A lot of stuff happened.
Lots happens, yeah. So after the relatively light first episode?
Yeah, it was more setting up the tone and pace, it was more setting up the tone and themes of Season 3 than any kind of action that happened, yeah.
This one begins at a similar pace to that, but then kicks it into the high gear in the second half.
Yeah.
So, Alma Ellsworth, not Garrett anymore, she's been collapsing and she's not been doing too great with the previous episode.
Yep.
It comes to a front now where the doc's like, we got to abort, basically, we abort this baby. And you're left on a bit of a cliffhanger about whether Alma has survived the operation or not, or what the result's going to be.
Yep.
The camp's speeches are finally come to head.
Yep.
EB is preparing to make his speech about Mayor in his bloody beaten up state.
Yep.
There's some great scenes where Sai is going insane.
Yes.
Basically. He tries to intimidate Joni.
Yep.
Basically say she's worthless and turning her back on everything and just not wanting anything for her future, and she's like, fuck you, I'm going.
Yeah.
And he makes an impassioned speech to the preacher who stabbed him.
Yeah.
That's the one, we'll get into that scene a bit later.
Yeah.
But most importantly, George Hurst is making a kind of power play against Al. He receives a note in the gem which precludes to some killers, and it's part of a complex scheme to get a rise out of Al, basically. Al murders these guys. George Hurst invites Al to watch the speech from the balcony, and again it's more of a power play. George Hurst is trying to intimidate Al because George Hurst knows Al is basically the most powerful man in the camp, and he knows he needs to get to Al to get his full grip on the...
Well, he's trying to get the Alma Garrett claim.
Yeah. He knows Al's the best person to go to because he knows he's got the sway to do it.
Yep.
After Al basically refuses, he proceeds to chop off Al's middle finger.
Yep.
In rage of what happened.
Yeah.
And Al is left
meek and beaten
at
the end, walking around town with his arm held under like that.
Yeah.
Watched over him above by a smirking Hurst as Seth and his gang sort of support him on the way.
That was poetic.
Yes. Well, the whole point of it is that, like in this episode, this is the one where Hurst builds the veranda by smashing in one of the walls of EB's hotel. So that's clearly the character building his own godlike post.
A visual metaphor for the way he's punched a hole in the town's society. Yeah.
Like, we're obviously, as a viewer, you're used to Al being sort of the big godlike character because he has that view over the whole town.
Yeah.
Because he can see from the balcony he made. He looks at the whole thoroughfare. He's in control of everything. And Hurst has come and smashed.
He's literally been kicked off from the high position.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's no longer the dominant character in Deadwood.
Yes. It's great how this episode's paced because it's like the Alma stuff has like a sense of dread to it and like what's going to happen, and then like the episode swerves into like that stuff with Al, almost like it was building up to that. It's like a thought of feint. It's fairly clever how it's done that. Yes. What did you think of the episode?
I loved it.
It was a great episode.
A step up from a relatively slow first episode. I thought this one had some great, interesting new plot lines and stories. Yeah. It puts the characters into new situations. I'm always a fan in the show seeing the way they do medical procedures.
Oh yeah.
Like the complete backwards way they used to do things. I assume most of it is accurate to...
It will have been,
knowing David Milch and his insane levels of quality control, I assume that's maybe the way they actually did abortions back then. I'm always fascinated when the show tries to do that.
Yeah.
I respect that they go to the efforts. And this episode also finds the characters put into new situations that I've been in before. Like I said, this one, you've got Al, who's been kicked out of a dominant position in Deadwood. He's now, with everybody else's level. They're in the same boat. There's a great scene as well, which was hinted at in the last episode, which is concluded in this one, where Calamity Jane goes to give a speech to the children of the camp.
Oh, that's great.
That's a great scene. Yeah, that's really great. You've never seen Jane so restrained.
And warm as well.
And sober.
Yeah.
And she's really funny. but she still acts like Calamity Jane. Like they're this really irritating child, and he keeps interrupting the story and asking questions. And she's like, "So I get started off the story. Any other objections, James?"
Yeah.
He's like, "No, oh, anywhere." And she's really great. It's an unexpected facet of her character that we've never seen before.
But it had been implied before. Like there's the scenes in season 1 where she's in the plague tent and she's looking after the plague survivors.
Yeah.
That implies that she has that sort of like more like she's able to look after people, maternal. Like Calamity Jane's famous was a nurse.
Oh yeah.
And also in season 2 where she was with the general.
Yeah.
His first bit we can't say, but yeah, when she was with him, she's like on the downtrodden and sort of. So it makes sense that she would fit in well with children, and she's almost like a childlike character herself.
Yeah.
Unable to sort of act in the adult world, so she's an alcoholic. But this sort of has sort of like,
so instead of drinking milk, she just drinks alcohol.
Yeah. As an attempt to sort of flee from the more complex adult world. Yeah, and she's another relic from the past in a way. She used to be with, Wild Bill.
And General Custer.
And General Custer, and now she's sort of lost in this more civilised world, but this implies a...
Sorry, whenever I hear General Custer, I think of the Atari 2600 game.
Oh, the rapey one.
Yeah, but one where he fucks a Native American girl against a cactus.
Yeah.
And you get points for doing it.
Yeah.
That's all I can think of.
I know. Oh God.
Since we're British, we don't know anything about US history. It's not taught in high school, so we learn it through books and movies and TV shows.
Yeah.
I was first introduced to General Custer through a review of that video game.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of him before.
He was something to do with the Civil War, wasn't it?
Well, he famously lost at Little Bighorn.
Yeah.
Against like a whole bunch of Native Americans. He was seen as being a great commander, but like Jane was saying, he didn't. He never listened, and I think that was like his downfall.
Yep.
And he didn't listen, and he ran into a battle where he was greatly outnumbered and just slaughtered, basically.
Yeah.
They call it the Massacre at Little Bighorn.
I've heard of the Massacre at Little Bighorn. Yeah.
It's a very famous moment in American history.
Yeah.
So again, I like how they're drawing upon these real historical events as well. It makes you feel like it's part of the big picture.
Yeah.
The founding of America, so to speak.
Yeah. Also, to continue with like that kind of like foundations and iconic stuff, there was a reference to Wild Bill again.
Oh, I liked that. Yeah.
Charlie Utter gives like a little bit of a mention to Jane about Joni about him, saying that like he also had self-doubt and self-pity and stuff. There's also you're talking about how Sally was belittling Joni in that scene where they have the confrontation, but there's one of the lines in that gets to like a big theme of this, where it's like not being in work or help to others is what puts a gun to the head.
Oh yeah.
Implying it's all about again that whole theme of being part of a bigger thing is what gives these people any kind of meaning.
Yeah.
So getting back into bringing that to the other thing about these iconic characters, it's showing how that kind of iconic way is gone.
Yeah.
Now she's more of a teacher teaching these young generation about the things that she's done, and Joni has to get something into the community.
Joni's got to do something.
Yeah.
So at the same time, it's kind of horrible what Sally's saying to Joni, but at the same time, he's kind of right.
Yeah.
Because her place is
helping others.
And unfortunately means looking after prostitutes and doing stuff that she doesn't necessarily like, but that is her role, I guess.
Well, she's getting a meaning from being part of a bigger structure, which also brings into the reason why Hearst is such a great villain for season 3.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I think season 3 is a good finale, because the whole point of the Hearst character is that he's completely divorced from that way of thinking.
Yeah.
He basically has gone into town to get what he wants, and he doesn't care about anyone in there. He just wants to get the gold claim, and that's it. He doesn't care about making the community a better place, or he even says it in where they're talking about what the meaning of the word. What is it? Compromise means?
That's it, yeah.
So basically Al's idea of compromise and why he's the hero at this point is to sort of bend his will to other people's.
Yeah.
Well, the idea of Hearst is just to bend his will wherever he goes and to make everyone understand that what he wants is what he gets.
Yeah.
So that's why it's such a great villain, and it's all tying in together. This is one of the probably most like the episodes where everything feeds into each other most.
Yeah, definitely.
Only really the Alma storyline doesn't feed into the more thematic stuff.
It's more divorced in it, really.
Yeah.
But like again, it's kind of like I think it's almost like a clear cut from the past.
Yeah.
Obviously, the whole pregnancy came from Bullock and Alma's time together.
Yeah.
That's how she got pregnant. And I think by having an abortion, it is a literal like abolishing of the past.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's a clear cut from the way things used to be and the way things are like now.
Yeah.
Hearst is destroying elements of the town and bringing it to ruin basically.
Yeah.
Everything that it stands for in the same way that this child that was born out of love and passion has turned to, cold indifference.
Cold indifference.
Yeah.
Yes. I also read a really good... There's a couple of things with that. I heard two conflicting things about that storyline. One, that it was a poor resolution for it to have an abortion because it was basically just like a cheap sort of way to like not have to deal with that in an overstuffed plot.
Okay, yeah.
Another one I heard, which I thought was a really good defence of it, was that it's a way to show that something born within Deadwood can't survive because it's still a place of violence, especially when it was conceived in season 2, that place of violence and hellishness. Even though it's becoming more civilised now, it can't sustain new life yet.
Yeah.
So like that, literally something born within Deadwood can't survive because it's still too harsh a town and it's not right. It's like there are children in this season, but they're all coming from earlier. So yeah, I think that. Would you say it's more the second bit?
I think the second bit. Yeah, I think it's unfair to just say that. It's a cheap resolution.
Yeah.
Because also historically speaking, childbirths never did go very well.
No.
I mean, like, well, why do you think everyone treats the children like, they're angels?
Yeah.
Like, they treat Sophia like she's the second coming of Christ.
Yeah.
But because children back in that era were little miracles because the fact that they made it through the horrors of childbirth, which obviously before modern technology, actually having a child was a very risky thing to do, not to the baby, but also to the mother as well.
Yeah.
So, it makes sense historically as well to me. Like I would be surprised if in the story of the world of Deadwood, if there was to be a pregnancy and there was not complications from it, because that's just the way things were.
Especially considered the stresses she would have been, and she was a former drug addict.
Exactly.
I think it's fine. I just heard that one of the criticisms it got was that it was like a cheap, too fast resolution to it, but I think it
works.
Yeah, I think it works. Also,
plus there's not much else you can do with she's pregnant.
Yeah.
You've got to find other things for the character to do. There's going to come a point where she becomes so heavily pregnant that there's not much you can do just because she is so heavily pregnant.
Plus, I think it would make it too... Like, there are... Not this semi-spoiler, but not really. There are bits later on where her life's in danger from Hearst. I think to have the pregnancy there would have made it sort of harder to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, and it would also have taken her, I think, too much out of the main plot line.
Yeah.
Because she's like one of the main characters of this season because of the fact that she has the gold claim. She's almost what Al and Hearst are fighting for. She's like the future of the town. So to take her out of it by having her pregnant wouldn't have been the correct thing to do, I think. Plus it makes the fact that she married Ellsworth even more tragic. Because the whole point they married was to make it look like the baby would be
Ellsworth's,
fine. And now there's no reason. It's another sort of tragic sort of way that things have gone within the camp.
Well, it's even that realisation, like I think on Ellsworth's face when basically saying, I'll sell out the property and stuff, and she's leaving stuff to Bullock, and he's like, oh, I get it. I get it. And then that's it, man.
Yes. He's great in this.
He is really
Jim
great.
Beaver he plays.
He's a character who's completely just coming to himself. He starts out as kind of like a nobody character, like kind of just a weird, rugged, down-to-earth miner who's going to help Miss Garrett get her gold claim and sort her out. But he's grown into a really interesting character.
Yeah.
He's almost like he knows his place, he knows his position, and he doesn't like it, I think. Yeah. But he has to do it for the sake of the greater good.
So another character.
Another character that fits in with that.
Yeah.